we hung out with Mark Sheppard, Crowley from Supernatural, and the guys from Clerks, Brian O'Halloran, Dante, and Trevor Fehrman, Elias. And you will not believe what Michael Rooker did. We're going to tell you all about it, so hold on to your Mjolnirs. It's about to get nerdy in here.
Nerd, nerd, nerd. Nerdfarious.
I'm Stark.
And I'm Great White.
And we're going to tell you about our great experience and with the different stars that were at the Comic-Con. Great White, why don't you start us off?
We were going down. I was going out. Unfortunately, I'm a smoker, so I was going out to have a smoke. And the valet parking guy said something to me. I said, no, thank you. I'm just going to go over here and sit down to next to Mr. Sheppard and have a cigarette.
Well, Mr. Sheppard's reaction wasn't too cool on this, and probably because he's been doing autographs and photo ops, so he kind of was like, oh, brother. And then I just said, hey, man, we're not going to mess with you.
Yeah, and he's like, you know who I am? And of course, we're like, yeah, you're Crowley, Supernatural, Doom Patrol, and many other things that we can't list. But yeah, we know who you are. You're like, oh. And then he started talking. And we talked about a little bit of everything. He asked us where we were from, politics, very knowledgeable on his politics. And he admitted to us, he called himself a typical Hollywood liberal. I don't know if that's true, but he was upfront with us, and we didn't agree on everything, but he made some good points. It was nice to hear a different point of view.
Yeah, it was a really great experience, and he was extremely clever, really up on his politics, said he was a political science buff.
Yes. Praised former President Barack Obama about his knowledge of the Constitution and him actually swearing him in as a U.S. citizen. So he was very, very thankful to be a resident of the United States and to be a citizen now. I believe he's from England. He said one of the proudest achievements in his life is now his passport now says country of origin, United States of America. He stressed that 3 or 4 times during our conversation and could not be prouder that those little words at the bottom of his passport meant more to him than anybody I've ever met, and that includes people that were born and raised here.
One of the funny things was he was asking, discussing politics with us, and I, of course, am not a fan of politicians, and I made the comment, of course, keep in mind, he played Crowley, the, Lord of the Demons?
Yeah.
And I go, well, I think all politicians are evil, which, stupid.
Hindsight being what it is.
So he's like, no. And, but he did agree that, so I had to kind of dial it back and said, well, I don't appreciate that these people come into office and they leave and they're way richer than when they first came into office.
Yeah, that was also a point he made. He was like, you come in making $118,000 a year and you leave making $180 million a year. There's something wrong with that.
Yeah. I talked about my serving in the Army in combat. It was really cool was that Mark Sheppard, of course, shook both our hands. But when he shook my hand, he said, hey, I just want to thank you for your service. And I said, oh, thanks. I appreciate that. But he wanted to emphasize it because he's such a, proud American that he said to me, he goes, no, I mean that. You probably hear that all the time, but I want to let you know, I really mean it. Thank you for your service. And it really meant a lot.
Continuing on that note, we're getting ready to leave the next day. So I'm out once again smoking. And Mr. Sheppard's out front again. As we walk past him, we thanked him for his time for the night before. Because this conversation was 30 or 40 minutes long. This wasn't a 5-minute conversation. Yeah. I mean, we really spent some time with this man. Not to say we're friends or anything, but, we thanked him for his time. And, he stood up and said, no, gentlemen, thank you. He said, I really had a good time. Shook both our hands again, wished just safe travels. And we did as well. He told us he's flying all over the world and country filming new stuff. So... But it was really, I think he appreciated just a simple conversation, not about the movies or being a star or anything, just people talking. Even though we had different opinions on stuff, it was really something to see.
And then later, we ended up, we were sitting in the hotel lounge, and I was sitting there alone at that time, and it just so happened that the guys from Clerks came in, two of the cast members from the Clerks movies. Now, I've seen the movies and I enjoy the movies, but I don't know all the backstory. I'm not a big, Kevin Smith fan. I like his stuff, but I just didn't, but I recognize the guys. And so, of course, immediately I ended up texting Great White here, and I'm like, hey, the Clerks guys just sat down next to me.
And obviously I scrambled in looking casual, but, watched all his stuff, starting with Clerks, and then Mallrats, Chasing Amy, everything he's done. So we're sitting there. I'm playing it cool for about 30 seconds or so. And then I can't help myself. I have to lean in, and I asked Brian O'Halloran, honestly, guys, is the next Clerks going to be as good as the last one? And Trevor Fehrman pipes up and he goes, no. Mr. O'Halloran, or Dante, if you will, he corrects him and he says, he doesn't do this a lot. So, well, yes, sir, this is going to be just as equally as good as the second Clerks movie. Being sarcastic, of course, I'm sure with a thread of truth, but then that led to the conversation talking about the different movies they'd been in, working with Kevin, how much I love the characters anyway, how much heart. I love the dialogue that Smith puts in all his movies, because it's all about character interaction and the heart of these characters, whether they're douchebags or, dope heads or whatever the case may be. There's a lot of heart and a lot of thought that goes into these characters. Even Randall. And talked about how much, and it seemed genuine that they enjoy working with Mr. Smith and doing these movies. They said they just have an absolute blast doing this stuff.
And like I said earlier, that I don't know all the details that Great White here knew. So actually, when we introduced ourselves, I said I was Great White's sidekick. And I don't say much.
Everything was right with the world.
And I said, I don't say much. And then they go, oh, so you're Silent Bob and he's Jay. And so they kind of joked about that. And during the course of the conversation, I just, felt really, really good. It was just us hanging out. I was just like, Elias was getting another drink. And I said, hey, no. Go ahead and put that on my tab. I told the bartender.
Yeah, they weren't real receptive at first, but I didn't give them much of an office. I said, no, Elias. It's done. It's done. Take the drink. We appreciate what you guys do.
Yeah.
Take the drink. And I said, you know what? We're doing this for you, even though you are a Lord of the Rings fan. A little jab from the movie. And of course, Mr. Dante is like, nice.
It was really good seeing those guys. And they asked if we were going to be at other conventions and maybe see them. We'll see. During that whole thing that, I just so happened that Jason Mewes came up on the other side of us next to me and was asking the bartender if he had any coffee. And so we got a brief glimpse of him, and then he was on his way. And then from there, as we're sitting there, lo and behold, Michael Rooker comes up next to us, and he ends up ordering a drink and sits right behind us at this nearby table. The really cool thing about it was that just so happens there was a wedding reception going on. There was a large group of people, young people, just, of course, the bride and groom were there. And Michael Rooker was just a complete class act. He gets up, goes over and to the bride and groom, talks to them. Of course, you could see their expression. They were what
absolutely.
The heck? This is awesome. Just kind of chats with them a little bit, and then he went back and sat at his table.
Yeah, no, it was a great move. It's already a special day for that young couple, and then to have a guy with a star power like that come up and just chit chat, take a couple pictures, wish them well, congratulate them. I'm sure it just heightened the experience for them. They looked absolutely giddy from across the room.
Yeah. So then he was sitting back here with some friends, and a little time passed, and then out of nowhere, Michael Rooker jumps up from the table and runs around it, and I see him lean down next to us and picks up a wallet and holds it up and goes, hey, did you drop this? To some young people that were from this wedding party walking away. They, of course, come back and they're like, no, they're checking, and he ends up saying, oh, okay, well, I'll just turn into the front desk, and here I'm going, whoa. Okay. We just witnessed him go over, and be super cool to this couple. Now he's Mr. Good Samaritan. I mean, he's going out of his way. He's supposed to be keeping a low profile. What's he do? Whose is this? Whose wallet is this? He's making sure he's, I don't care about my privacy. Somebody's lost something. I'm going to try and help them. And then he went over and turned it into the front desk.
After having to deal with people like us all day long, and we're middle of the road on this stuff, but yeah, it was really nice to see him just being able to interact, have a good time, and not be pressured into anything. No signings, no pictures, no nothing, just hanging out.
Yeah, you might be thinking, well, why didn't you guys get a picture with him or an autograph or any of that kind of stuff? Well, generally, when we have these kind of encounters with celebrities and stars, we don't ask for that. Because personally, it feels like we're sullying the experience. You just had a really, great conversation with me. That's enough.
I enjoyed the conversation, the time spent. That's good enough for me. I don't need anything else. But I'll guarantee you, because of what I saw at St. Louis, the next con we go to, and these guys are there, they're going to get my money for a photograph or an autograph just because of the way they acted in St. Louis and taking their time out to spend some with us. And we're not anybody. We're just fans. Yeah.
After Michael Rooker turned the wallet into the front desk, and it was getting kind of late, and we're heading back up.
Kind of late. This is like 12:30 in the morning, just so everybody knows. It wasn't like 9:30, 10 o'clock, old guy late. This was young people late. Bars were closing.
And so I went over to Michael Rooker and I said, "Hey, I really appreciate the work that you do." And then he said, "Hey," he goes, "Thank you," and he shook my hand, and it was really cool because it just so happened that years before, I got my picture taken with Michael Rooker at a different Comic-Con, and he was cool then, and he's still cool now.
Absolutely.
And also, we ended up seeing, just for a glimpse, a couple other stars, right?
Yeah, that's right. I almost forgot about him because we didn't get to talk to him. But that night, Ron Perlman come down briefly, walked over, shook Mr. Rooker's hand, and then he disappeared back upstairs to his room, I'm assuming. Checking out the next morning, we saw Kristen Kruk of Smallville fame. I have to say this, she is so small. She was so tiny, I couldn't believe how small she was, but I digress.
Yeah, it was a great time.
This part of the trip was worth everything else that we did. I mean, it was just such a good time, just hanging out and I can't say enough about these people.
Yeah. Make sure to check out our Fan Expo Comic-Con video and our Fan Expo comic book haul. The comic book haul will actually talk about the video, about the actual Comic-Con a little bit, and the Comic-Con video is just going to be the Comic-Con experience. But make sure you check those out. I'm Stark.
I'm Gray White.
And we'll see you next time. If you don't hit that subscribe button, you might miss one of our Hanging Out with Celebrity videos. And while you're here, I want to thank those people that have subscribed. Daz the Comic Key Chaser, Dizon B, Mega Man, and Web Dude. Thank you for supporting our channel and subscribing. And you can too. Just hit that subscribe button. Thank you. Shamrock, not right now.